afternoon. Welcome another year to our Zinemaldia meetings. I see a lot of new faces and a lot of known faces, and I hope we will have a terrific time together and learn a lot about cinema. As you know, we always devote some time here to talk about cinema and about the different films that are in the sections of Zabaltegui and Perlas and new directors. So what we want to do here is to recuperate that ritual of talking about the films that we have already seen, or talking about the films that other people recommend us to see. So this is a space in which we will have these debates and these dialogues, and we will have people from all over the place, from every language, from different cultures. And I would like you to welcome our guests today. Thank you. Hello. So our first film today is a short film that was presented in Zabaltegui. Zabaltegui is typical for having very different things. We have the director with us here, Isibene Oñederra. And as you know, in Zabaltegui there is a space for everything. Sometimes they are feature films, but sometimes we have short films like today. And your film is just 11 minutes long, but in depth it's very, very, very deep. It's very difficult to sum up what it is about. And as I heard about your film, it is better to go with the flow. Well, I believe that we should talk about short films, but it's more animation for people to know better what it is about. In my film, we are talking about animation here. It is a very fast and trepidant and dirty film. It's something that it's difficult to digest in the first screening. What I said in the dialogue with the public is go with the flow, let the film bring you to places. Imagine that this is as when you were children and your father or your mother dragged you along the street. So I'm going to drag you along different emotions and things that might have happened to you in your childhood or not, or some things that you would recognize with your intuition. Maybe you won't understand it correctly, but you were dealing with it in your heads for a long time without knowing it. So you have to go with the flow in this film. Because the main problem is, and I think it happens with all my short films and all my animations, I think that the public tries to understand and they get crossed because they cannot understand. My films are not to understand, they are to feel, because they don't approach reason, they approach the heart. So I recommend you to disconnect your brains and just go with the flow, because you will recognize things that are inside you. And those in the public who really let go of reason and of understanding will have a good time, and others who stick to reason won't. So the film is 11 minutes, but let's have a 20-minute peak, 20-second peak. So, as you can see, the film is somehow poetic, but it has also a political content. I don't know exactly what I saw there. I cannot explain the movie, but I recognize some elements that pointed at, politics in a metaphoric way. Well, the film is called Sins of Life, but it really talks about moles, little moles, which is actually the title of the film in Basque, Little Moles. And I wanted to show a group of people that help me go by every day in my life. Those women that Shuk said are kind of destroying the cultural earth on which we are living at the moment. And I think that we are living very controversial times, very tense times, and I think there are some women who are really fighting, who are really stepping up. And I think this film is also trying to break the mold and to show different things. I remember this feminist in the United States who once put some tampons dyed in red in ketchup and put them on a buffet, and men tried them out. They thought it was food. So this is transgression, and I love those small transgressions that take place in everyday's life, in small gestures, but nevertheless they rattle the ground on which we are walking. So my idea was to create micro tales, micro stories that talk about different women that are transgressive at different levels, and show a kind of journey through the story of these women. Mariana is laughing, the main actress of the film, Emma, because it shares a little bit of this approach, I think. Yeah, I believe those feminists that I talked about, I thought they came from the United States, but maybe they came from Argentina. Anyway, they were very brave, very, very brave. And the idea is that it is to recuperate them, because history forgets about those women, and I would like to bring them back into life or into history. These women were acting in the background with their feet in the mud, and that's why I chose the animal, the mole, to show this slow work in the background. You've been working with an animator for the film, and I believe you've worked in the past with him. How was this cooperation? Because your view, your focus in the film is very, very personal, and you have to convey it to a person from outside. Well, I must say that the drawings are mine. I mean, 20% of the animation is mine. I usually draw every day. I couldn't explain how many drawings I can achieve in a day, but I've been drawing for this film for 3 years long. So thank God I have this hobby or this liking of making drawings. And when it was more difficult for me to decide which ones to include and which one to leave aside. And it was interesting to give the space in the cooperation to the other person to put his view in it without getting lost, without forgetting my point of view or my project. And therefore, I like to work with a very small group of people that can be in sync. And I try to be respectful, to be accepting the others the way they are, and we have to actually live together in order to achieve this point in which very personal work becomes teamwork. It's very complicated sometimes. You mentioned that some of these stories are inspired in your mother, and even the traits. I would like to know if the traits of the character are based in your mother. Well, it's scary to say, but it is true. I based some of the one of the characters on my mother. Many of the drawings I did on a sheet of paper like this one. in ink, and there were different women from history, but my grandmother was there, my mother was there, but the Italian singer Sabrina was also there. I mean, every kind of woman could be there. I don't know if you remember this singer Sabrina. Sabrina was very popular in 1997. She was singing on television during Christmas meals, etc. And for me as a child, it was something different because we know what she is well known because she was singing and she was showing her breasts, and it was a mixture between pop and kitsch, and it was different. It was another time, and we try to show all these transgressive women that could be my mother, Sabrina, Marie Puri, whoever, the next neighbor. I was trying to capture I was trying to portray these women, and I started preparing this project for my final work, the final work after my studies, and I was finding new things while I was making the drawings, and I had over 200 portraits of very powerful women, and it helped me to create a collection. And I needed to have very realistic faces, and that was a problem for animation because to put faces that are very realistic in movement is very difficult. It's not the same to put movement to a round face with two dots than to put movement to a very realistic drawing. It's more complicated. And those faces, like the face of my mother, for example, my mother's face, she is already gone, so I wanted to treat her with a lot of respect because it was very difficult for me emotionally as well. So I believe that all these elements that you are explaining here have ended up in a very, very rich and moving film. Thank you very much. Hello. Hello. Welcome. Our second film today was presented yesterday in the section of new directors. It is a Korean film called Scattered Night, and we have with us the two film directors and the main actress, as well as other actors of the film that are sitting here at the back. This question is for the two directors. This is a story of a divorce, but from the perspective, from the point of view of the children. Why did you choose this topic, and why did you choose precisely the point of view of the children and not of the parents?
처음에는 뭐 이혼으로 접근을 하기보다는 어떤 헤어짐의 소재로 이제 시작을 하게 되었는데, 그 어른들의 헤어짐에 대해서 이야기를 쓰다가 그냥 우연히 아이 화자로 한번 바꿔서 이제 이야기를 진행을 해봤을 때 그 이야기가 저도 편하게 쓰이고 이제 보는 사람들의 만족감도 좋다고 생각이 들었어요. 그게 이거는 뭐 어느 정도 저의 개인적인 얘기일 수도 있겠지만, 제가 분명 어떤 풀리지 않는 갈등의 지점을 가지고 있는 그 10살, 11살 이 무렵에 아직도 내가 독립을 하지 못한 시간들이 있겠구나, 이거를 사실 진행을 하면서 알게 되었고, 그래서 이제 관객들 입장에서도 이제 본인들이 가지고 있는 어떤 뭐 기억이나 감성에 대해서 그냥 투영을 해보고 이제 공감을 하면 더 좋은 작품이 될 수 있겠다. 예, 이런 목적으로 이제 시작을 하게 되었습니다.
Bueno, al principio había
Beginning, I thought of shooting the film from the perspective of the parents. But then we thought that it was better to show the point of view of the girl because it's a more pure mind. It's a purer mind, and maybe the concept or the way of focusing on the divorce by the girl is more interesting. So we are dealing with divorced parents that go apart, and the child needs to accept it. And although my parents are not divorced, I showed part of my personal story there, and I thought the point of view of the girl was more understandable for the public. The public could relate better to it, and I wanted to make people aware of the importance of family as an institution. That was my aim. So we will go on talking about the film, but I would like to show some scenes for the public to taste.
Bueno, ahí veíamos a los dos niños.
See the two main characters, the children that are playing the two main characters. Both of them are here. I don't know if you had some experience as an actress, or is it your first film?
이번에 처음 찍게 된 건데 이번에 수민이 역이 저랑 너무 비슷한 것 같아서 저희 엄마 아빠가 이렇게 싸우시는 그런 것과 너무 비슷한 것 같아서 마음에 들었어요, 이 역할이.
Bueno, es la primera vez que
This is the first time that I play a role as an actress in a film, and my character is called Suming, and for me it was easy to get into the role because my parents fight a lot. So they fight a lot, and I am used to it. I know what to do when they start fighting, and it was not very difficult for me. Did you have any trick to play before the camera?
저희 엄마 아빠가 싸운다고 생각하거나 아니면은 저랑 비슷하다고 했으니까 오히려 수민이라는 역할이 다른 역할보다는 확실히 저랑 비슷한 역할이다 보니까 쉬웠고, 근데 그래도 힘든 그런 게 있으면 저희 엄마 아빠라고 그렇게 생각을 계속 하고 주문을 외웠어요.
Bueno, pues yo en las situaciones difíciles había
Difficult situations, I imagined that I was with my parents and that they were fighting. And assuming the girl I play is, we are very, very similar, very alike. So it was not very difficult. And whenever I was in front of the camera, I thought that the two main characters were my parents, and that was all. In the film, the two directors try very hard that the film is shown by children. So the camera is very low, and everything tries to convey the children's point of view. How did you do it?
일단은 아까 지영 감독이 말했던 대로 아이의 시선으로 진행이 되는 거였고, 그렇기 때문에 아이의 시선에서 바라보는 어떤 샷들이 필요했어요. 그래서 그럴 때는 이제 수민을 비추는 것도 있지만 죄송하지만 질문이 다시 한 번만.
Sí, sí, sí.
일단은 수민이 주인공이고 수민이 변화하는 것들을 보여줘야 하기 때문에 수민의 어떤 시점 맞춘 화면으로 찍어야 됐었고 사실 그러니까 높이에 대해서는 사실 고민을 하지 않았던 것 같아요. 그러니까 저희가 촬영 컨셉으로 잡았을 때 중요했던 것은 이제 수민의 시선으로 진행이 되지만 너무 이제 수민의 어떤 시점샷으로 보여지는 것보다는 전체 가족의 어떤 가족의 전체 모습을 보여주고 그 속에서 수민이 어떻게 움직이는지 그거를 조금 더 중점적으로 보여주고자 한 것 같아요.
Vale, pues como habíamos dicho al
We mentioned at the beginning we wanted to show the point of view of the girl. And that's why we lowered the angle of the camera and we tried to show everything from a lower height. And then we tried to shoot the family as a community, and we tried to show the girl moving through this community or around this community. So we didn't really plan to lower the angle of the camera, but we tried to follow the girl, and it was the outcome. So when you arrived here some minutes ago, I saw you watching the camera and the focus of the camera. Would you like to become a film director? Is it me? No, you. Well, of course, I don't know. Maybe you want to become a film director too, but the question is for the girl.
네, 원래는 원래 예전에 꿈이 사회자였던 적도 있어요. 그래서 실제로 사회자였던 적도 있는데 저는 일단은 카메라 앞에서 있는 게 좋아서 일단 카메라 앞에 있는 모든 것들이 다 좋은 것 같아요.
cuando era más pequeña.
Was more when I was a baby, when I was more little than I am now, I always dreamed to be a film director, and I really love to look at things through the camera. But I think I enjoy more to be in front of the camera. Okay, then we will wait for you, and hopefully you come back here with another film in which you are an actress as well. And as we always say to new film directors, we hope to see you in the future here.
Bueno, pues nuestra tercera parada de hoy.
The stop today is in Chile, where the film Emma is coming from. Mariana Di Girolamo, the main actress, and the producer, Javier, are with us here. And I think, well, you look very different because in the film you have long hair and you're blonde. Yes, I had to change the image. I wanted to do it different. I don't think if you understood my question, I mean, I didn't intend to be frivolous, but I think that it's part of the transformation that an actress has to go through in order to portray the character. Yes, I think that my transformation into Emma started from outside and went inwards. When I read the script, I immediately thought that she was a liberated woman, a free woman, but I immediately pictured her hair as well. And the construction, in my case, started there. It started from the outside. Clothing is also very important. She dresses always in a very lively colors, and I had to train in choreography and in dance as well, and the contemporary world of reggaeton. And it was a very long work in which I had to be very present, very in the moment to learn how Emma interacts with the other characters. Pablo Larraín is the film director. He couldn't come this time, but he has been in the festival many times. And let's see some images.
Bueno, ahí veíamos a Emma.
Emma there, and I find it funny because sometimes I always explain that in these meetings, in the Topaketa meetings or in the Zinemaldia meetings, there are many cultures that come together, many languages that come together, and Emma is portraying a free woman. But she lives in a kind of underculture. And I love the character, I must confess, because she's an idealist as well. She tries to approach life in a non-traditional way, but especially she's a very free woman who is going through a process of rethinking it all. And it is very complicated to go to the heart of such a complicated character. Well, she's a mother, she's a lover, she's a wife, she's a dancer, she's an artist. She is a strategist. She loves fire. She's fiction as well, but the story tries to convey a whole generation of women in our time. It's not a very vindictive film from the point of view of the film director. And from the point of view of Emma, they just show what is actually happening today in this new generation that loves in a different way, that builds different kinds of families and sees different things. Emma adopts a child and then gives the child back. Then she tries to be a mother herself. She builds a family, and then she breaks that family in order to create a new one. It's complicated. The film is shown in the section Pearls of previous festivals, and of course Pablo Larraín is internationally known. He has been working in the States already, and I don't know if in the case of Pablo is it easier for him or more difficult for him to come up with such proposals as this one? Well, I believe that making movies independently of the director is always a challenge, a huge challenge. And in the case of Pablo, and due to his trajectory and his films, he is already well known outside our country. And the production, of course, profits from it. The development process is longer in films when the director is not known, and our development process was shorter. And we have no co-production. Our film is Chilean 100%, and Pablo wanted. I could deliver whatever he wanted, which is very nice and very important. And he was able to tell the story he wanted to tell. Well, Pablo could have gone to another place and he could have told a different story, but he decides to go back to the roots and go back to his culture. Mariana, is this the most important film that you have played in for the moment? And do you think it's going to be a turning point in your career? Do you feel it like that? Yes, everything is very new. For me, I've been in festivals. I had never been in festivals before. I've been shooting more experimental films or having short roles. And now I'm experiencing what it means to show a film to the world. And I am eager to go on working. I'm really enthusiastic. And it's been an experience that is a very significant one. It's the first time that I play supernova the way she was described in certain media, and the answer is yes. I don't know. I'm still in touch with Emma. It's a film that maybe it's very difficult for me to say goodbye because I'm very in character yet. It's a film that it's never finished. I've seen the film 4 times, and I feel that it is still developing, or I'm still digesting it. Well, thank you very much for coming, and I hope, Mariana, to see you again in the San Sebastian Film Festival with a new project, and that you become a superstar or a supernova. And I hope you remember us, because older people become stars and they forget about us. please don't. And our next step, good afternoon, comes from Switzerland. It's a film that was presented in the section Zabaltegi. It's called Bird Island, L'île aux oiseaux. And we have with us the two film directors, who are Sergio da Costa and Maya Cosa, and the producer Flavia Sanon. You're paying attention to my pronunciation, right? I tried to do it right. So what I found strange was the location of your film. I've never seen a film that was shot in a center for people with psychological disabilities. Well, the location was very. We found it in a very simple way. We found an abandoned bird on the street. We thought that it had some physical problem, but we brought it to a hospital for birds. And from that moment, I was really moved by that place. It's although I'm co-directing with Maya, it was me who arrived to that hospital or bird hospital. It was a very strange place because it was filled with sound. It was the singing of the birds, and there were airplanes flying through over that place, and it was a strange mixture, the singing of the birds and the noise of the planes. I discovered it in 2003, and I was impressed by it, and I couldn't get rid of it. I had it in my mind, and I thought if I ever shoot a film in Switzerland, I will do it there. And I became passionate about birds, and I wanted to shoot birds. How did you distribute work among yourselves? How did you do that? Do you do it? Well, as Sergio has said, he started a project and I joined later. It was him who started it. He had the idea of shooting a documentary film, and I fictionalized it later. Our films are always at the border between feature film and fiction and documentary. And I was very interested in that place as well, in that location, and I wanted to explain, to tell the story of a boy who visited our film school, and he doesn't belong to that bird center, but I found him very interesting, so I placed him there. In the film, his illness, which is similar or parallel to the bird's illness, is what we would try to explain fictionalizing the documentary. So this boy plays himself, or a character that is very close to himself. Yes, you are right. It's not him, but a character is based on him. So all workers in that birth center are people that are having disabilities or that quit school very soon and don't have any kind of training. And he comes to cover for another worker, and he was unable to find any job for 10 years, and he has now this job at this birds center. And since he was unemployed and he's young, they offered him to come to this bird center to cover for a person that is retiring. So it's a young person that arrives to this place, and this is the image that we are going to see now.
Bueno, ese es el chico y es...
the boy, and those are the rats that the birds feed on. So the film has something wild about it because it shows the cycle of life. And I think that it's a possible metaphor because you reflect on life based on nature. Is that true? Yes. This is based on that location, and in that location, human beings or humans need to reconstruct themselves, and they can do it based on nature and on the life of birds. That place offers us the opportunity to question our relationship to animals. I didn't want to give answers. I think that the film gives questions or tries to question our relationship to animals and to nature as well. There are different open questions in the film about what is the value of different species, why why do we protect certain species, and why do we kill rats, for example. But there are many other questions in the film. And how did you do it to pick up the rats that you show in the film? Well, this is based on a real experience. We have to learn how to live with rats and to nourish them. And we didn't kill them, but we needed to actually go through the process of having a rat with us. And so we learned how to deal with them. So I imagine that producing this kind of film must be complicated. How was the production? What main difficulties did you find along the way? For me, what was interesting in this project was that it was funded through a grant. And the period of the financial period is very long. And then everything happened all of a sudden very fast. So we didn't wait 2 years long. It happened just like that. And after shooting, you suddenly question a lot of things. So that's why the film cutting lasted for a long time. Because both directors are very responsible with what they shoot, and they question themselves a lot. They pose a lot of questions, and they are very motivated. They do things because they like it, but also because they have a story to tell, and this story needs to make sense for them and for the public. So all the complications and the problems were derived from the prolonged time. It took a long time, but it's very simple. So we try to work in a very simple way. We try to cut things short. It is a film full with open questions and a very nice film with a political focus, a human focus, and a focus on nature and on animals. And it is a very simple film with all the positive connotations of the word simple. And our last stop for today is a film by the Navarra film director Madi Barber. It's called Urpean Lurra. I think we saw you last year with a film that is similar to this one, or it has a relationship to this one. It's related to it. And this one, Urpean Lurra, I don't know how to explain about this film, but I think last year we were sitting down at this very table. So I think you're trying to show the same topic, but from a different point of view, maybe. The main topic is the dam that was built in Itoitz. Yes, I think that we were at this very table, and I also think that we were the last crew. Oh, sorry, but it doesn't mean anything that you're the last. It's not, it has no meaning. Well, one film gave birth to the next. When we did that film on the level 402, which was the political decision what part of the valley was going to be flooded and what part wasn't. We were trying to portray the place and the relationship with its inhabitants. But we didn't go into the water, right? So it was my first focus, my first way of approaching the topic. But I believe that there were still many things to tell about the story. I thought it was worth dealing with it again. And this time, since the space, it's divided by this level decision, 402 upwards and downwards, I decided to move at this barrier, at this border, because borders are always interesting. And so we thought, I've worked with Gerard and with Midari, who are also with me here, and we wanted to show more the part that was flooded. So there is a part in the film in which you concentrate on the dreams that people had. It's a very vital part. And then you're using a lot of archive images during the flood when the dam was being filled up and the fight against that. Why do you mix reality, documental images with those other parts of dreaming? Oh, I don't know. I had access to the different materials, and I decided to put them together. I don't know why. I didn't prepare an intellectual discourse on this decision. I found some connections there, which I saw during the cutting of the film, but it is a film in which I tried to try things out, to see what happens if you mix materials, to see what happens if you put the two very different kind of material together. Well, when watching the film, I imagined that the most difficult thing was to sort out all the material that you had, all the documentation. Did you have to leave aside many images, many minutes, or not? And since part of the material was shot by the citizens, you can hear their voices in the background. Yes, there are a lot of hours of documentary material, and of course we spent a long time watching them, and then we took time as well to process it and to think about it, and then we had to take decisions. For example, you have already mentioned that we decided at the beginning. We decided that we only wanted to show those images related to the movement, to the solidarity movement that fought against that. But in the end, we decided to include also images from the parts that are flooded. Well, I believe that something that is present in the film is this idea that it is a fight. But sometimes in activism, in the fight, you forget about people there. And people there are alive and have their emotions and their feelings. And this is what we tried to show. You see how the landscape changes, and you see what it makes, how it makes people feel. And that was not shown in the first film, and that's not shown in the documentary film material, but it is present in our film. So let's watch some images in which we can recognize that there are these two stories, the dreamy one and the documentary part.
Maya, ahí veíamos soñando.
We could hear you dreaming here. When did you discover that, well, I didn't say that Maggie grew up in that valley. And when did you hear that people were having recurrent dreams about what is underwater? When I was with a friend of mine there in the valley, and she told me that she usually dreams of being an eagle that is flying over the valley, and that the valley looks like it used to before. And she was explaining that, and I could see it. And that was the first dream I heard of, the first dream that they told me. And so I also had a dream, and it is a dream that I explain in the film. And then I started sharing it with other people, with 6 or 7 people, and they told me that they also had dreams, and they were dreaming of the land that was underwater. Because they always mentioned this land is in our bodies, in our cell memory. And it comes up during the night. And it's very interesting because this part you cannot control. Because when you ask people, tell me how it was, these people are in control. And the story they tell is under control. But when they tell you about the dreams, they are not controlling the dream at all. And so I started believing that those dreams were something collective. And after the film, several people approached me and told me that they are also dreaming of the valley. We also dream about the house where we were born and where we spent our childhood. So this memory is there. Of course, this valley is now dead, but it was part of you, and we are very thankful that you show this relationship with the valley, and that you have found a new way to show this relationship. Well, in my case, I don't have a personal relationship with the valley, but I feel a high affinity with Maggie's work. And I feel a synergy with her and with her work. And I think that was essential for us to work together, at least in the cutting part. The cutting part is impregnated by landscape. And so we were also visiting the place. And these visits helped us during the cutting process, so it was like a kind of cycle. In my case, I do have a relationship. In my case, my father's house is below water now. And many times when I drive around this dam, I remember my father telling about this story. And some years ago, someone offered me to have access to this documentary material, and I said yes, although this project didn't exist yet, because I wanted to watch it. Do you have more material, Maggie? Are you intending to present a new film on this? Well, at the moment, I'm a bit tired. But Miraria Chavarri and me, we have an exhibition that we're going to show in Bilbao, and it has allowed us to work with the Itoit's material, but in a different way, from a different approach. It's not the same if you're planning to use this material as a photography in a space, in a physical space without sound. It's not a movie. When are you showing it? It starts in October 3rd in Okela in Bilbao. So please go and visit the exhibition. Thank you very much for coming. And I always say so, but I really hope to see you again with your next work here. And I hope to see you as well tomorrow in these dialogues with the film directors and actors and actresses, etc. You know that we are very passionate about film. Thank you very much.